Well, good morning, everyone, and wow, what a turnout. I almost feel like sort of saying welcome back, because it was March when I was last stood up here, and there's a lot gone on from there. I'm delighted so many of you have returned, and hopefully some of you are new as well. For those who don't know me, my name's Mark James. I'm one of the directors of Squaremile, and I'll be your host for today. It was last March when we were here before, and it was just on the cusp of pensions liberation or pensions freedom, whichever way you want to call it. And we're here now 6 months later to just sort of take a rain check, I think, see where things have gone, see if there's any skeletons in the cupboard, and what's ahead. And I've certainly found the last 6 months fascinating, talking to advisors about what they're doing about pensions freedom, and indeed we talk to a lot of fund groups and a lot of wholesalers about the products they're bringing out as well. And there's a lot on horizon, I promise you. I'm going to get the boring stuff out of the way first. So we aren't expecting a fire alarm. So if the fire alarm does go off, then don't panic, obviously. But if you follow the exits, that'd be great. For those that you've got a phone, and I expect that's probably 100% of you, if you could make sure it's on silent, that'd be greatly appreciated. We will be emailing the presentations to you afterwards, so there's no need to put that on your feedback forms. And if you could fill in the feedback forms, that would be greatly appreciated. I know it can be a bit of a bind, but it really does help us set future presentations and future conferences and see what you want. And also, you'll be getting your attendance certificates, CPD certificates on the way out, if you hand in your feedback forms as well. So we've got a packed agenda, very good agenda. We're starting off in a minute with Alistair Conway, who's the CEO of James Hay. Alistair's going to talk about challenging perceptions. And I know Alistair's very keen on you asking questions after his talk. So whilst he's talking, please feel free to think about some challenging questions to his talk on challenging perceptions, if that makes sense. Next on is Alex Wright, who's portfolio manager at Fidelity. Now, Alex is a contrarian investor, and another good friend of mine actually is a well-known contrarian investor, and he said being a contrarian investor is a bit like going into work with your underpants on the outside of your trousers. It's a little bit uncomfortable when people think you're an idiot, but you have to get uncomfortable and you have to be an idiot in order to have to feel the bad times to get the good times. So I'm always fascinated to hear about contrarian investors, and I'm keen to hear what Alex got to say. I'm sure he hasn't got his underpants on the wrong way. Steve Waddington is from Boney Mellon. Steve's going to talk about cautious core in retirement portfolios. And a lot of the work we've done at Squaremile over the last 6 months has been around what advisors want from retirement portfolios, you know, sequencing risk and pound cost ravaging and all that, those problems that your clients are facing or potentially facing as well. So I'm keen to hear what Steve has to say about that and how his proposition can work with that. Next on is Ian Linden, who may be familiar to many of you. He's the technical manager of pensions here at James Hay. I chuckled to myself what I've gotten written down. Last time Ian spoke, I realised how much there was to know about pensions and just how little I knew. And that's from someone who's been in the industry for 35 years. So it just goes to show that I'm way behind the curve there. But he'll be talking about, he's part of their technical support unit, which is a fantastic resource for advisors to use, and I continually get feedback about what a good resource that is. So pay attention. I've got down here, he's talking about aligning pension inputs with tax years and also tapering of annual allowance, plus a few more things as well, I expect. And he'll also be taking any questions you may have afterwards. Catherine Flood is next on. She's from Baillie Gifford, the client manager. Catherine's client contact and strategy specialist for Scottish Mortgage, which I think by some margin is the biggest conventional investment trust out there, with something like £3.8 billion invested in it. Talk a lot about investment trust to people. I know through James Hay platform, you can invest in investment trusts, and a lot of advisors have clients who are very interested in that as an investment. So again, keen to hear what she has to say. Robert D. Dominiques is CEO of GBST Wealth Management, Australian, obviously. Now, Australia haven't led the way with cricket this summer, and let's hope they haven't led the way or won't lead the way with rugby from tomorrow onwards. But they certainly have led the way with regards to platforms over the years, and we're going to have a look at the Australian experience and see what we can learn from that and what we can expect going forward in this country. David Rowan is next on, Editor-in-Chief of Wired magazine. Again, we talk to a lot of advisors at Squaremile about their centralised investment propositions, and a lot of what we talk about is how we can make it as efficient as possible. And certainly technology plays a big part already and will continue to play an even bigger part going forward. So to hear from David about what we can expect from technology really excites me, because we all want to be as efficient as possible whilst giving a bespoke service, and I'm really keen to hear what he has to say. Marcus Brooks, the next presenter, needs little introduction. I've heard Marcus speak on many occasions about his multi-manager. He's a terrific person. He's always got an opinion, and you'll enjoy what Marcus has got to say. And then please, again, think about some questions, because I want to have an easy life today. The fund managers are coming on to the stage afterwards, and you'll have an opportunity to question them on what they're doing and about their funds, macro views, whatever you want to ask. And then we move on later on to, and if I get my notes right, sorry this, but Neil McIlvey heads up the James Hay Technical Support Unit. Again, Neil's knowledge of pensions is second to none, and there's a lot of speculation when pensions liberation came about, pensions freedom came about, but people will all be driving around in sports cars and spending their money. We're going to have a look, or Neil's certainly going to have a look at what is actually happening, and I think that would be very, very interesting and something that we can all learn from. And then finally, Mark Fleet, Chief Commercial Officer, James Hay, is going to close the conference. So all I really want to say is enjoy the conference. I'm sure you'll get an awful lot from it. I'll be popping up from time to time to introduce the speakers and to help with the Q&A. From a personal point of view, I'd like to thank you all for your support for Squaremile over the last 6 months since we last met. We've got over 1,500 advisors now using our free-to-air website, and please feel free to go on there. And lastly, this is a point last year where Alistair had his notes on the lectern, if you can remember it, and I walked off, not just with my notes, but also with Alistair's notes, which funny thing to say is you guys found it very amusing, but Alistair and I didn't, but there we go. It's our job to entertain you as well, I guess. But thank you very much. Enjoy the day. I'll be popping up, let's say, from time to time, and without further ado, I'd like to introduce Alistair. Thank you.